Chapter 11. The Masked Stranger. The nightmare shifts in Chapter 11, and suddenly it's not just about monsters anymore. Sunny and the other candidates come across a man wearing a mask, and his presence changes everything. He doesn't roar or threaten, he simply stands there, calm and unreadable, and that quiet confidence is more frightening than any beast they faced. The group doesn't know what to make of him. Some whisper that he could be an ally, someone strong enough to help them survive. Others feel the chill of danger in the way he carries himself. Sunny, cynical as always, doesn't need convincing. He sees the mask as a warning, a sign that this man is not to be trusted. What makes this chapter hit hard is the realization that humans can be just as dangerous as the creatures of the dream realm. The masked stranger isn't just surviving, he's thriving, and that makes him a threat. Sunny watches carefully, knowing that in this world, the scariest enemy might not have claws or fangs, but a human face hidden behind a mask. Chapter 12. The Weight of Silence. The masked stranger doesn't vanish after his unsettling arrival. He lingers, and with him comes a heavy silence that presses down on the group. Every candidate feels it. The monsters of the dream realm were loud, violent, and obvious. This man is the opposite. Quiet, deliberate, and unreadable. That makes him far more dangerous. Sunny watches him closely. He knows better than to trust appearances, and the mask is more than just a piece of cloth, it's a wall, hiding intentions, hiding humanity. Sunny senses that behind it is someone who has already decided how far he'll go to survive, and that realization chills him more than any beast's roar. The group tries to act normal, but their nerves betray them. Words are clipped, movements hesitant. Some candidates cling to the hope that the stranger might help them, but Sunny sees the truth. This man isn't here to save anyone. He's here for himself, and anyone who gets in his way will be crushed. Chapter 12 is less about action and more about tension. It's the kind of chapter where silence speaks louder than words, where every glance feels like a threat. Sunny understands now. The dream realm isn't just testing their strength against monsters. It's testing their ability to survive among people who might be worse than monsters. Chapter 13. The First Clash. The tension that had been building finally breaks in Chapter 13. The masked stranger, silent and unreadable until now, shows his true nature, not with words, but with action. The candidates, already frayed by hunger and fear, find themselves caught in a storm of violence that feels sharper and more deliberate than any monster attack. Sunny watches as the stranger moves with terrifying precision. There's no wasted motion, no hesitation. He fights like someone who has lived in this nightmare long enough to master it, and that mastery makes him even more dangerous than the beasts. For the first time, the candidates realize they're not just struggling to survive the dream realm, they're struggling to survive each other. The clash leaves the group shaken. Some are injured, others are too stunned to speak. The silence afterward is heavier than before, filled with the knowledge that the stranger isn't just passing through. He's a force they'll have to reckon with, whether they want to or not. Sunny, cynical and sharp-eyed, understands what this means. Monsters can be fought, but humans with ambition and power are a different kind of enemy. The dream realm has shifted again, and now survival isn't just about endurance, it's about navigating the cruelty of people who see weakness as an opportunity. Chapter 14. The Fractured Alliance. The aftermath of the clash leaves the group shaken, and Chapter 14 dives into the raw human fallout. The candidates are no longer just wary of the dream realm, they're wary of each other. The masked stranger's presence has carved a deep crack through their fragile alliance, and now every word, every glance, carries suspicion. Sunny feels it most keenly. He's always distrusted people, but now that distrust feels justified. The group tries to move forward, but the air is thick with tension. Some candidates whisper about turning against the stranger, others argue that they need his strength to survive. That division festers, and Sunny knows it's only a matter of time before it explodes. The dream realm itself seems to feed on their discord. The landscape grows harsher, the silence heavier, as if the world is reflecting their inner turmoil. Sunny, bitter but sharp, realizes that survival isn't just about fighting monsters or enduring hunger. It's about navigating the fragile, dangerous web of human relationships under pressure. Chapter 14 is less about external battles and more about the slow unraveling of trust. The candidates are breaking apart, and Sunny sees clearly that the real nightmare isn't only the realm itself, it's the people trapped inside it with him. Chapter 15. The Breaking Point. By Chapter 15, the fragile balance among the candidates finally begins to collapse. The masked stranger's presence has been like a shadow hanging over them, and now that shadow turns into open conflict. The group, already weakened by hunger and fear, can no longer hold itself together. Arguments flare into shouting, suspicion hardens into hostility, and the thin thread of cooperation snaps. Some candidates try to cling to unity, but others see betrayal in every word and every glance. The dream realm, with its endless darkness and cruelty, seems to feed on their division, pushing them closer to the edge. Sunny watches it all with cold clarity. He's exhausted, bitter, but sharper than ever. He knows that this is what the dream realm wants, not just to kill them with monsters, but to make them destroy each other. And he sees that the masked stranger is more than just a threat. He's a catalyst, forcing everyone to reveal their true selves under pressure. Chapter 15 feels like the moment when survival stops being about endurance and becomes about choice. Who will fight? Who will betray? Who will break? Sunny understands that from here on, the nightmare isn't just outside, it's inside the group itself. Chapter 16. The mask slips. The breaking point of the previous chapter doesn't fade, it deepens. In Chapter 16, the masked stranger begins to reveal more of himself, not through words, but through the way he moves among the candidates. His silence is no longer just unsettling, it's oppressive, like a weight pressing down on everyone. The group, already fractured, starts to crumble further. Distrust spreads like wildfire. Every candidate is watching the stranger, but also watching each other, afraid that desperation will turn into betrayal. The dream realm seems to echo their fear, its landscapes growing harsher, its shadows thicker, as if the world itself is feeding on their unraveling. Sunny, sharp-eyed and bitter, notices the subtle shifts. The stranger's calm confidence isn't just strength, it's control. He doesn't need to shout or threaten. His very presence bends the group's fragile will. Sunny realizes that this man isn't just another survivor. He's someone who thrives in chaos, someone who understands that fear can be a weapon sharper than any blade. Chapter 16 is about exposure, not of the stranger's face, but of the truth that humans, when stripped bare by hunger and terror, can become more monstrous than the creatures around them. Sunny sees it clearly. The mask may hide the man's identity, but it doesn't hide what he is. And that realization makes the nightmare feel even darker. Chapter 17. The Irreversible Step. By Chapter 17, the fragile threads holding the candidates together finally snap. The masked stranger no longer needs to act, his mere presence has already poisoned the group. Fear, suspicion, and desperation boil over, and what was once a tense silence erupts into something that cannot be undone. The candidates begin turning on each other. Words become weapons, accusations fly, and the dream realm itself seems to echo their chaos. The monsters outside are still there, but now the real danger is within. Sunny, watching with sharp eyes, sees the truth. Survival has shifted from fighting beasts to surviving human cruelty. The masked man doesn't shout or argue. He simply moves with quiet certainty, as if he knew this moment would come. His calmness makes everything worse. It's like he's pulling the strings without ever lifting a finger. Sunny realizes that this isn't just a clash of personalities. It's the start of something darker, a descent into betrayal and blood. Chapter 17 feels like crossing a line. Once it's crossed, there's no going back. The candidates are no longer a group struggling together, they're fractured, broken, and dangerous to one another. Sunny understands that from here on, every step will be heavier, every choice sharper, because the nightmare has shifted into something far more human, survival at the cost of trust. Chapter 18. Shadows of Betrayal. The storm inside the group grows darker in Chapter 18. What began as suspicion has now hardened into betrayal. The candidates, once bound together by necessity, are unraveling thread by thread. The masked stranger doesn't need to lift a hand. His presence alone has twisted their trust into fear, and fear into hostility. Sunny feels the shift immediately. He watches as whispered doubts turn into sharp words, and sharp words into dangerous actions. The dream realm, with its endless night, seems to mirror their collapse, every shadow stretching longer, every silence heavier. It's no longer just about surviving the monsters outside. It's about surviving the treachery within. The masked man thrives in this chaos. He doesn't speak much, but his silence is louder than any threat. Sunny realizes that this man understands something the others don't. In the dream realm, power isn't only about strength, it's about control. And control comes from breaking people apart until they're too weak to resist. Chapter 18 is the moment when the nightmare stops being a test of endurance and becomes a test of loyalty. Sunny sees clearly that the group is no longer a team. They're prey circling each other, waiting for the first strike. And in that circle, the masked stranger stands like a predator who has already chosen his moment. Chapter 19. The True Enemy. By Chapter 19, the fragile illusion of unity is gone. The candidates are no longer companions in survival. They are rivals, each one measuring the others as threats. The masked stranger stands at the center of this storm, not by force, but by the quiet gravity of his presence. He doesn't need to speak. His silence has already turned them against each other. Sunny feels the shift like a knife in the air. The group's fear has curdled into something darker, betrayal. Every glance carries suspicion, every word drips with hidden meaning. The dream realm itself seems to lean into their collapse, its shadows stretching longer, its silence pressing heavier, as if the world is feeding on their unraveling. The masked man thrives in this chaos. He moves with calm certainty, as though he has already decided who will live and who will die. Sunny, bitter but sharp-eyed, realizes the truth. The monsters outside were never the greatest danger. The real enemy is human, cunning, ruthless, and willing to use fear as a weapon. Chapter 20. The Deadly Consequence. By Chapter 20, the tension that has been simmering finally erupts into something irreversible. The candidates, already fractured by fear and suspicion, find themselves pushed past the point of return. The masked stranger no longer needs to manipulate. The seeds he planted have grown into chaos. The group's fragile alliance shatters completely. Words turn into violence, and choices are made that cannot be undone. Sunny watches as desperation drives people to betray one another, each act of survival cutting deeper into whatever humanity they had left. The dream realm, merciless as ever, seems to echo their collapse, its shadows thickening, its silence pressing down like a grave. For Sunny, this chapter is a revelation. He sees clearly that the dream realm isn't just a place of monsters. It's a crucible that burns away trust, compassion, and hope, leaving only raw survival. The masked stranger embodies that truth, calm, ruthless, and thriving in the destruction of others. Chapter 20 feels like the moment when the nightmare stops testing them and starts consuming them. The candidates are no longer companions in suffering. They are enemies bound together by circumstance, each step forward heavier with the knowledge that survival now demands sacrifice, and that sacrifice will almost always be human.